Hey, Zach, do you have any tips on treating pelvic floor dysfunction? I'm a narrow infrasternal angle with secondary compensations, meaning that this person is limited in all directions of movement. Doing the best I can to restore movement options. Anything more I can do to help this? Well, preface, it's going to be hard to say without an evaluation or what is meant by pelvic floor dysfunction. It could be some of the symptoms that we've talked about. So if you're having incontinence or you're having any issues down there, please go get checked out. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, we've done that. We've ruled out the bad stuff. We've done a referral to a pelvic floor specialist. And hey, you got someone who's narrow, who is limited everywhere. What the heck do we do about it? I think this is a good time to touch on my current thought process when working with someone who's limited in all directions, because this could influence pelvic floor. And there's some steps that I'm taking now, and I'm seeing some really good results with people who are limited in many directions, or they're stiff everywhere, getting some nice improvements. And that could be what's going on with edge artar as well. So let's talk about that. Now, you know that your boy is kind of big on that whole breathing thing, because when you breathe, it allows for movements to be restored in the pelvis, thorax, lot of different things. And basically, if we can restore the available range of motion, that means that I have what's called relative motion between all the respective bones. For example, so I got my femur here, and I got the sacrum. So if I'm someone who's got all of my movement available, what will happen is I should be able to move my SI joint and my spine throughout the available motion that it should have. And I also should be able to move my femur in all directions. But let's say that for some reason I've lost range of motion somewhere, but I still ask myself to be able to perform a motion throughout a given range. Well, let's say, for example, I lack hip extension, but then I put myself in a position that requires hip extension. If I've lost my hip extension range of motion, I can compensate around that by simply tipping the pelvis forward into an anterior tilt. And that's going to put my femur into a position of hip extension, but I've done so at the expense of losing the full relative motion between the femur and the pelvis. So when there's a loss of relative motion between the femur and the pelvis, it locks into place and moves as a unit. And when you see someone who has a loss of movement in a given joint, but you still got to ask them to move throughout space, that's generally how they do it. And so what we want to do, if we're talking about improving someone's movement capabilities, is to be able to teach them to move these pieces independently. Meaning, they should be able to extend their hip as far as possible and then do whatever they want to do at the pelvis independently. And when you can't do that, you're going to lock things in place and move things as one unit. If you have someone who is limited in all directions when they move, they're like that to the nth degree. And so what we have to do for these supreme clientele is we have to be able to teach them to move their body parts independently. And generally, if you got someone who's limited in all directions, they're going to move with a ton of tension. They're going to be really like a toiga and move really rigidly. They're not going to be fluid. Problems will ensue. So we want to try and do things to mitigate that. And the first thing that I've been doing with a lot of my peeps is teaching them to move with a whole lot less tension. And you might have seen some rolls on my website, and it's definitely on the stacking starter kit, which, if you're new to this stuff and you're like, Z, where in the heck do I start with improving my movement? Just go to the starter kit. Trust me, it will help you quite a bit. But teaching people to move slowly, methodically, easily, and effortlessly with less tension is a great starting point if you have someone who's limited in all directions. And there's a couple rolls now that I've been using a lot more with my Supreme clientele that I found really useful. And it's literally, you just get a foam roller, you have people lie on their side, and you put them in an external rotation biased range, which would be the lower portions of hip and shoulder flexion. But basically what you do with that is you just have people just slowly roll forward and backwards along these foam rollers. It's really slow. You're having them nasal breathe throughout, and they're trying to move as lazily and as with little tension as possible. If you got someone who's super stiff, awesome starting point. Once you've done that, you can then progress to more challenging rolls where you're moving the entire body, but you're still trying to do it with body parts independent. So you're not like doing a log roll with these particular moves. If we're doing an upper body roll, par exemple, you're going to roll with your arm, and then you're going to turn your head, and then your upper back's going to go, and then your lower back's going to go, and then your legs, so on and so forth. Teach yourself to move with as little tension as possible first, because that helps set the stage to restoring relative motion if you're limited in all directions. Once you've done that, then you can start to work on the stack. If you don't know what the stack is, again, I got a link in the show notes, zachcouples.com/pelvic-floor. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to teach our Supreme clientele to put the pelvis, pelvic floor, and the thoracic diaphragm atop one another. Because with these folks who are limited in all directions, they're tensing everything front side and back side, but then they're also pushing their center of mass forward. The stack helps teach our peeps to bring their center of mass back and then to work on larger breathing excursions to try to restore these relative motions in the pelvis and in the thorax. So you want to start with that. Make sure they can tuck like a rock star, making sure they can get through full exhalation, still not creating a lot of tension at this point. For these peeps, doing things offset where, like, let's say you use hook lying as a way to teach the stack. If you put left foot back, right foot forward, that can make it a little easier. Because when you offset the body, that's going to induce a little bit of rotation into the mix, and that rotation helps create a gradient for them to move through. Because when I'm locking everything in place, I tend to move things as one unit. When I rotate something, I have to be able to create space or expand or eccentrically position a certain aspect of the body, and the other aspect is going to have more of a concentric position. So anytime you can pre-position rotation, that can make things much easier for you and your Supreme clientele. Once you've done that, the song and dance is very similar to what we've talked about with some of this other pelvic floor stuff. Progressing the squat is probably the next step that you want to get for these peeps in particular who are limited in all directions. Same rules apply as with the stack. If you got someone who's limited in all directions, I would strongly encourage you to make the squat progression that you use offset, meaning you're going to have one foot back and the other foot forward, considering that we are asymmetrical creatures, and if you got a heart on your left side and a liver on your right, last I checked, you're going to have more of a right-sided bias. I mean, this is found in the literature. If you look at a couple studies done in spine, 06-07, they determined that the normal spine has a rightward rotation throughout most of it. So we probably want to do things to try to counteract that. So for most of these progressions, I have left foot back, I have right foot forward. Start with a higher depth squat, progress to a mid-depth squat, like a sink squat in the offset position, and then you can do a offset goblet squat, making sure you go through the full range. And then I like to finish with a little bit of sauce when I'm taking someone through this squat progression, utilizing things like cheek cleans where you're moving really quickly, but you're going through the full range can be immensely useful to helping your Supreme clientele restore their movement dynamics. And if you do that, you're going to be a lot more loosey-goosey. You're going to have less tension, and you'll probably have some improvements in some of the pelvic floor issues that you are mentioning. To summarize this unbelievable question by Edge Artar, the keys that you got to do when you're someone who's limited in many directions, you got some pelvic floor issues. You got to move with less tension first. Slow, methodical rolls work really well. Emphasize nasal breathing. The next thing is teach the stack. Why else would you talk to Zach? Teach the stack, making sure they can bring their center of mass posteriorly. And then the last thing would be progress through a squat. With stacking and with squatting, if you can do things in an offset position, it's going to make your life so much easier. So I would strongly encourage you to do that, because the offset position is going to induce a little bit of rotation. You get a little bit of rotation in the mix and no one's going to mess with you. Awesome question.